Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Nicholas Richardson and this is the news. The Sejm has adopted a resolution expressing opposition to the European Union mechanism for the relocation of illegal migrants. Poland does not agree to the relocation of migrants and this issue must be the subject of a referendum. Law and Justice President Jarosław Kaczyński said during the debate. Łukasz Muda has more. A European Union deal on how to share out the responsibility for looking after migrants and refugees should be put to a referendum in Poland, the ruling party leader said on Thursday, as he stressed Warsaw's opposition to the agreement. Under the deal, each country would be responsible for a set number of people, but would not necessarily have to take them in. Countries unwilling to receive irregular migrants and refugees are driving ad hoc to the European Union would help their hosting peers through cash payments, around €20,000 per person, equipment or personnel. Poland objects to the deal, saying that it has already taken in well over 1 million people fleeing the war in Ukraine and will not pay fines if it refuses to take in refugees from Africa and the Middle East. This is a mockery of Poland, the President of Law and Justice Jarosław Kaczyński said during a stormy debate in the Sejm, referring to the idea of financially punishing countries that refuse to accept illegal migrants. This is exceptionally brazen discrimination. That is why we will not agree to it, and the Polish people do not agree to it either. And this must be the subject of a referendum. This matter must be the subject of a referendum, and we will organise this referendum. The proposal to hold a referendum on the issue was negatively received by part of the opposition. Don't be ashamed. Tell Poles that you have failed. You do not know how to conduct politics in Europe. You don't need a referendum, you just need to go around the corners of Warsaw to find out. There is no consent of Poles for automatic relocation. Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki reminded Civic Platform and Polish People's Party MPs that in 2014, when they were in power, they agreed to any number of migrants imposed by the European Union. At the time, Germany and France used open-door tactics. As a result, Europe faced a migrant crisis on an unprecedented scale. Today, many EU countries acknowledge that this was a fatal mistake, a mistake made by Angela Merkel and her faithful sidekick Donald Tusk. A draft resolution opposing the proposal to forcibly relocate migrants was adopted by the Sejm. The majority of MPs from the Civic Coalition and the New Left did not take part in the vote. This mechanism, even if it were to enter into force, cannot be implemented. In the name of security, in the name of safety, it is ineffective and harmful. It destroys confidence in the Union and violates the sovereignty of countries, and we will never support this mechanism. According to the Polish government, the European Union should give Warsaw adequate financial assistance for taking in some 2 million refugees from Ukraine. The European Commission must continue to work on solutions to address the causes of Mediterranean migrant crossings. Spokesman Eric Marmer said on the day after a deadly shipwreck off the Greek coast. At least 79 migrants drowned early on Wednesday and hundreds more were missing and feared dead after their overloaded boat capsized and sank in open seas off Greece, in one of Europe's deadliest shipping disasters in recent years. Deeply saddened by the news of the shipwreck off the Greek coast and the many reported deaths, very concerned by the number of missing people, we must continue to work together with member states and third countries to prevent such tragedies. We say we have to reach an agreement on a migration policy that is coherent and effective. That's the first thing. And second, to work with member states to ensure that we have operational measures that are as effective as possible. Are we there? Clearly not. The work must continue, and that is what we are doing. Well, that's our policy. And of course, when there are legal questions that fall within the domain of the European Union, then the Commission plays its part. In the meantime, we are also working with member states on concrete measures. You are talking about Frontex. Frontex is a European operation which made it possible to identify the boat to transmit the information to the member states. Then it is the member states that carry out search and rescue operations at sea. But we are doing, and we are not stopping to do what is in our power, and we are proposing initiatives to member states to improve the situation. Asked whether the EU body would pressure member states to answer distress calls, he said the EU's role was to work on concrete ways of assisting them in preventing irregular immigration, while also developing a consensual legal framework to handle the migration flows. The EU Commission spokesperson for migration, Anita Hopper, added that Frontex's executive director, Hans Leitens, had arrived in Greece on Thursday to assist authorities in handling the crisis. United States Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin said on Thursday that NATO will stand by Ukraine for as long as it takes. Ukraine fighter pilots have started their F-16 training and Germany has pledged to reach NATO's military spending target of 2% of gross domestic product in 2024. Those are the results of the NATO defence ministers' meeting in Brussels. Austin was giving a press conference after a meeting of the United States-led Ukraine contact group of some 50 countries that give military aid to Ukraine.
Of course, We've given Ukraine's forces important training and impressive capabilities. But war is fluid, dynamic, and unpredictable. Ukraine's fight is not some easy sprint to the finish line. And our message remains clear. We will stand by Ukraine for as long as it takes. Ukraine has overcome so many obstacles, but more lie ahead. And Ukraine's troops and citizens do not stand alone. Thanks to the historic support of nations of goodwill from around the world, Ukraine is well positioned for the challenges still to come. I think you've heard us say over and over again that we continue to support NATO's open door policy. And each country will have a different path to accession. And so, again, I will further say that we remain where we were with Budapest, and so as we go forward here, I think you'll see allies and partners continue to work together to provide Ukraine what it needs to be successful, and also provide assurances going forward.
Ukraine's defence minister, Alexei Reznikov, said NATO countries had committed to start training Ukrainian crews on F-16 fighter aircraft as part of an international consortium. Speaking alongside NATO Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg, Defence Minister Alexei Reznikov said NATO allies, the Netherlands and Denmark, would lead the international coalition to train pilots and support staff, maintain aircraft and ultimately supply F-16s to Ukraine.
Today we got the commitment of our partners that training courses will start, and we will build up together construction of this consortium of fighter jets. It will start with the F-16, with the Netherlands and Denmark as the leaders, and other countries will join. And also we heard good news from our Sweden partners also that we will have the options to testing, just testing their capabilities also.
It's critical time for Ukraine because you have just launched the counteroffensive. You are making gains. It's fierce fighting, and the gains you are making is due to the courage, the skills, the bravery of the Ukrainian armed forces, and we pay our tribute and our great respect to what they are delivering every day.
Earlier in the week, the Dutch Defence Minister, Keisha Ollongren, told Reuters Ukrainian pilots could begin training to fly US-manufactured jets as soon as this summer. While adopting F-16s will not impact the war in the short term, it will bring Ukraine more in line with NATO military capabilities. The Netherlands, like other NATO members, is transitioning to newer F-35 fighters. The Dutch still have 24 F-16s in operation and more out of service which could be transferred to Ukraine. Judges at the European Court of Justice in Luxembourg have decided that consumers are entitled to claim compensation from banks if credit agreements contained unfair terms and conditions and were declared invalid. Such a right is not available to banks. There was also a ruling on the application of the interim measure on repayments. In a judgment published on Thursday, the European Court of Justice ruled that consumers may demand compensation from banks beyond the reimbursement of monthly instalments paid if a mortgage contract with unfair terms is declared invalid. The tribunal added that, by contrast, it precludes the bank from relying on similar claims against consumers. Case reference C520/21 concerns remuneration for the use of capital after the cancellation of a Swiss franc loan agreement and was brought up by a Polish court questioning the ECJ about this matter. On the one hand, the question was whether banks could demand from the consumer any other benefits apart from the return of the capital and the payment of statutory interest for delay from the time of the request for payment, and on the other hand, whether banks could pursue claims that go beyond the reimbursement of monetary benefits. The ruling, although widely expected, is a blow to the Polish banking sector and ends the bank's practice of demanding use of capital payments from foreign exchange borrowers who have won court cases against them. A large number of customers have been able to win such cases owing to the lender's use of abusive clauses in their foreign exchange mortgage agreements with consumers. Although Polish banks ceased to offer foreign exchange-denominated mortgages in 2012, the outstanding loans of around 130 billion zloty still pose a risk to the Polish banking sector as consumers sue banks for damages in courts. Most foreign exchange loans were denominated in Swiss francs when the Polish national currency was strong, but later on the franc appreciated rapidly, leaving consumers with extensive debts to pay off. That's the news. Thank you for watching. Stay with us for the weather, Poland Daily Business and more programmes. But from me, it's have a good night and a better tomorrow.